How can MegaVoice audio Bible players enhance the spiritual and educational experience for children?
I think what parents really like about these devices is sort of trustworthy independence. It's something where they know what's on the device, so they can trust the content itself, like what content they have. It's not like a tablet or smartphone where the child can go find other things to do or whatever. So when they get the device, it's what the parent or educator wanted them to have, but also so it's trustworthy from that perspective. It's also independent, being solar powered and something that's got a really long battery life. It's something that a child can go off to their room, they can go study independently, whatever they're doing. It's really about trustworthy independence.
What benefits do children and parents gain from using wildlife storytellers to make learning more interactive and engaging?
So what I find that's a lot of fun for the kids is just the storyteller becomes the story, like is what's telling the story. And so a lot of kids really sort of resonate with the voice, and it's sort of their special animal. And so from an education perspective, it's really about trying to then pair the content with something where either you're trying to get a point across, that is you're giving them Bible stories, or you're giving them lessons like devotionals, like the Keys for Kids devotionals. And so it's something where you can provide the lesson in audio, but you can also pair that with books where you can do read while listening to help them learn to read.
How can audio resources and storytelling tools be used to support language development and reading skills in young children, regardless of their educational setting?
So what's great about pairing up a wildlife storyteller that's got an audio book on it with the physical book is that the child can read along while they're listening. This is something that's been shown in academic studies to be a very effective way to teach reading. It's actually, I didn't realize this, but it's how I learned how to read myself, was by hearing stories while I followed along with my finger. The academic data shows that children that do read while listening gain 4 times the vocabulary of children just trying to read alone on the page. But it also increases their reading comprehension and their retention of information. So it's a great way, by pairing stories on the device with a book, to really help a child learn how to read and learn how to read quickly.
How do MegaVoice audio Bibles incorporate children's stories, and why is it important for their engagement and learning?
So I think one of the big things that's great about MegaVoice is there's a lot of different content out there. So if you go out to their website, there's different Bible stories for different ages. And one of the things about kids is they just like the players. One of the things I've seen kids tell me is they have sort of the freedom to listen to these great stories wherever they may go. And so they might use it while they're doing chores, while they're playing outside, while they're hanging out with their friends. And so it's something, especially if you've got, the wholesome kind of content that MegaVoice puts out, you're reinforcing Christian lessons, even if you're not telling Bible stories.
How do MegaVoice audio Bibles accommodate children with different learning styles and needs?
So I don't know if you're that familiar with this idea of learning styles, but there's really 3 ways children learn. There's this idea of an auditory learner, somebody that listens through their ears. There's a visual learner, someone who listens or who learns by seeing things. And then there's the idea of a kinesthetic learner, someone that has to use their hands to kind of work on things, to learn things. And so what's great about the MegaVoice devices is it gives those auditory learners a way to hear while they're following along visually, and so they're building both those sort of auditory and visual skills at the same time. But it's also great if you got an actual kinesthetic learner, a child that wants to build things or things like that. You can give them some Legos, you can give them something to keep their hands busy, and they can listen to the MegaVoice device and be sort of basking in that information and bringing it in while they're keeping their hands busy doing something else.
What role does multisensory learning play in a child's development, and how do MegaVoice audio Bibles support this approach?
So one of the big things about this multisensory approach is the data is pretty clear that the more senses you engage in a learning activity at the same time, the more effective the learning is. That is, if you just hear something, your likelihood of retaining that, I think, is like 10%. But if you hear it and you see it at the same time, that increases drastically. And so by having these audio devices to be able to allow you to read while listening, or to hear the content while you follow along with your eyes, it goes a long way to helping a child retain information.
Can you share any testimonials or success stories from parents who have used MegaVoice audio Bibles with their children?
So one of my favorite stories is we have this boy in our life that he's just a very anxious child. He had a tough time sleeping at night, and he was just very anxious. And so he got a wildlife storyteller, and originally it was with the Towers of Light content was why we gave it to him, but it turns out it also had an audio Bible on it. And children kind of pick a narrator they like, and so this child really liked the audio Bible narrator, and so he would listen to it at night, and lo and behold, he could sleep now that he had his wildlife storyteller telling him Bible stories. What was great about this from a Christian education perspective is he really likes his wildlife storyteller to the point that he'd actually memorize so many of the Bible stories that when he got to Vacation Bible School this past summer, he was telling the pastor, "No, pastor, you're not telling that story quite right. Here's some other things you didn't tell us about." And so I think that's just a great testimony to these things as a tool for Christian education.
How can MegaVoice audio Bibles be integrated into daily routines or educational activities at home or school?
So what I really like about using something like, say, the Lifelike for a busy family is you're able to kind of set that device down and do story time with some great stories that are, going to reinforce your faith. But then you can switch to another channel on the device and actually do family devotions. So by doing that, you kind of disconnect from your screens, you put your phone away, there's no tablets or anything. You're all able to hear the story and interact with it together, but at the same time, you're not distracted by the rest of the things that might be going on the internet. In addition to that, kids really like these devices just because they can hear the stories while they're doing chores, and so it's something you can kind of wrap around family chore time, family devotions, and use the devices to kind of guide you through those activities and help the kids and the family wind down for the day.
What are the key features of MegaVoice audio Bibles that make them particularly suitable for young children?
I gotta say, the thing that makes them most suitable for young children is they're just durable. I got a friend of mine who's got some young boys that are 8 and 10 years old, and I said, "Hey, I want to know just how tough these are." And so they took different models of players out to the playground, and they dropped them off of slides, they kicked them around, they did all kinds of stuff with these devices, and they still play just fine. So I think, to me, what makes them kind of most appropriate isn't just the long battery life, but the fact that they're super durable and they're something that you can trust, whether it's the water resistance, impact resistance, and just the great warranty. There's something that you can trust that your kids are going to have a good time with, and they're built for durability. It's something that MegaVoice kind of prides themselves on, of having these high quality devices that can take a beating.
Why is it important for children to have access to spiritual and educational resources like MegaVoice audio Bibles, especially in today's digital age?
I think for me, the biggest thing about these devices is it's disconnected discipleship. It's something that's not going to distract you by drawing you into something else. So when my own children were learning how to read, we did the read while listening method. We helped that they followed along in the book while they heard the stories, but we were giving them a phone or a tablet to do that. And the challenge was, it was very easy to kind of, I'm going to end up on Minecraft or Roblox or something that wasn't the reading we were supposed to do. So we kind of wish we'd had MegaVoice when my kids were little, simply because it's something where you can give them the device, it can give them the audio that helps improve their educational experience, and at the same time, it's disconnected from everything else. You can trust what's on it, and you know that they're only getting what you mean for them to get while they're doing that. But it also gives them just a lot of freedom to do things along the way.